Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at one-step equations. This is the first section from chapter 2, which we'll probably move through this chapter kind of quickly. We're still in that kind of pre-algebra review state that we've been in. So, addition and subtraction properties of equality. Go ahead and pause and copy down most of this. This isn't anything that's new to you. What this basically says that if I add the same number on both sides of an equal sign, then it stays the same. In other words, adding 3 on the same or on both sides of this equal sign creates your answer for you. All right, it's whatever you do on one side, you do on the other, and that is kind of like the big premise of algebra. If you could remember that, you could do a lot of things successfully. It works for subtraction as well. If I subtract the same value from both sides of an equal sign, then the equation remains true. So I like going on to these websites every now and again. They have these questions, and this was one that I thought was good. How do I get rid of an oily face? That's not really a bad question, especially teenagers sometimes deal with this, so this is probably relevant to some of you. My face is so oily. How do I get rid of it? This was the best response I saw. Getting rid of your face is not recommended no matter how oily it is. The face serves many functions, and you should not try to remove it. Words of wisdom for you today. Okay, so go ahead and pause and copy these down here, your vocabulary. To solve an equation, you must isolate the variable. That means get it all by itself. A solution means that there is a variable all by itself on the equal sign. Inverse operations are ones that undo another operation. For example, subtraction undoes addition and vice versa. Multiplication will undo division. Division will undo multiplication. A square root will undo squaring. Squaring undoes a square root, and so on. These are pretty intuitive for a lot of us, so hopefully you understand that. All right, go ahead and try these problems very quickly using inverse operations. And when you're finished, unpause and take a look. So when I do these kind of problems, I like to write them out like this. I work vertically. I know some of your teachers in the past may have had you look at these horizontally. I like to work through them vertically. So here I'll undo that by subtracting a 2. So that leaves me with y equals -8. This one I add a 3 to undo this. And that is -4. And this one right here, I'm going to add 3/2. And that equals 2. All right, so hopefully you got those right. All right, so it works very similarly with multiplication and division, so go ahead and pause and copy these things down. If I multiply one side of an equation by a value, as long as I multiply the other side by that exact same value, then what I call the integrity of the equation remains intact. In other words, this will stay true. Over here we have x over 3 equals 2. If I multiply both sides by 3, that's going to get rid of this, and I'm left with x equals 6. It stays true. Same thing with division. As long as I divide both sides by the same value, it stays true. So here it's divided by 5. Those would be gone. You'd be left with x equals 4. That should not be anything new to you. Go ahead and take a moment. Try to figure these out by pausing. And then when you're done, hopefully you find these as your answer. X should equal 1.6. This one divided by -3.2. Be careful on these. When you're dividing by a negative, remember your quotient is going to be negative. On that one, we get -4.375. Over here, undo division by multiplying. Excuse me, a little cough right there. X equals -36. Right here, multiply both sides by -9. Keep that negative with it. These simplify out, and you're left with -72 equals y. If you didn't get any of those, take a look. Try to figure it out. All right, so let's take a look at this. Right here we have a number next to a variable, so hopefully you recall that that means multiplication, but it's a fraction. And so in order to get rid of this or isolate this variable, I have to divide by this fraction. So here's a real quick crash course on stuff that you should have learned when you were little. Let's say I had 2/3 divided by 1/2. I think we've talked about this year. This year, remember, this is keep, switch this to multiply, and then flip the second fraction. So to divide by 1/2 is the same thing as multiplying by 2 over 1, and you get 4/3. We approach this the same way, but we kind of skip some of those middle steps. I know that I'm going to have to divide both sides by 4/5, but that is the same thing as multiplying by 5/4. So over here, the 5 simplify, the 4 simplify, and I'm left with m. Over here, I'm multiplying. You could do a little bit of simplifying before doing that. So 7 times 5 is 35, and 1 times 1 is 1, so it's just m equals 35. So I'm multiplied by the reciprocal. Here's one for you to try. Go ahead and give that a shot on your own. All right, and after you unpause, hopefully you found that x is equal to 16. And that's it today. Super short video for you. You're welcome. I'll see you in class.